Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
Say we go ahead and jump right into it, man. We'll go ahead and start off with the Ja Morant news. So, of course, as I said earlier, Adam Silver, he wanted to hold off on suspending Ja Morant until after the NBA Finals because he didn't want to take away from that series between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. But once that series was over, a couple of days removed from that, Adam Silver came down with the hammer and gave Ja Morant a 25-game suspension for next year. So, pretty much, my question to you guys was 25 games enough?
Yeah, I think 25 games is enough just because when you look at the NBA, Ja Morant isn't going to make an All NBA next season. He's not going to make an All Star game, and 25 games in the West is a blow. Like it's a huge blow. And if your starting guard, your All NBA guard is out for 25 games in the Western Conference, that's going to hurt you severely. I don't think he's going to get paid for those 25 games. I mean, it's just a terrible situation for himself, but he landed himself in that situation. And, the first suspension was about 8 games. And the next one, they pushed it all the way up to 25 games. So that's about 30% of the season. And I think that's pretty appropriate for what he did. I don't care if it was a toy gun, if it wasn't. It's just we are one of the up and coming faces of the league. And when you go out and you perform and you act like that in front of a camera, going on IG Live, flexing guns and stuff, it brings a bad brand to the NBA. So, Adam Silver, I think he got it right with 25 games. I don't know why people are calling for more because 25 games is already a lot. I don't know if you want him to get suspended for 60 games or something like that, but he is a star in this league. He is a guy who every time he plays, there's always a potential for a viral clip. So Adam Silver does know that. So I think 25 games is appropriate.
I 100% agree, man. 25 games, I feel like that's 30% of the season right there. He's not going to be playing. He's not allowed in the team facility. He's not allowed at practices. He can't be anywhere near the facility or anything like that. So he's basically away from the team. And Abdi brought up the point, 25 games is a big hit in the West, especially when you're battling and teams are battling from that 12th spot to that, fourth, third spot. They, very close seating. And your star player, one of the best players in the West, he's missing out. He's missing 25 games. It's going to be tough. So I feel like, second time he got in trouble, I feel like he does, 25 games is perfect. I feel like Adam Silver hit it on point. I hope, he learns a lesson from this coming back and he doesn't make the same mistake a third time where it's going to be 50 games or maybe 60 games or he might be out for the season, So for him, 25 games, he's going to lose a whole lot of money. He's already been losing a whole lot of money with his advertisements and everything, his deals and all that. He's missing out on a bunch of stuff. And then, you slap on another 25, his brand's going to take another damage. So for him, I feel like Adam Silver hit it on point. He's setting a standard to him to say, hey, 25 games is right here. Next time you do something worse, it's going to be way more, and it's going to affect your career much more. So I feel like it's good for them. But I got to learn from these two mistakes and come back and not get in trouble anymore. He's putting his team into the tough waters. He's putting his teammates' trust into tough waters. He's missing games over stupid mistakes that he's doing outside on the court. So it's like, why pay the guy every time he's coming back and mistake, he's suspended, and he comes back, mistake again, and suspended. So hopefully he learns and comes back and doesn't do it again.
First things first, I want to go ahead and say rest in peace to David Stern, man, because I know he wouldn't allow this to happen in his league. Adam Silver, I believe he took it lightly on Ja Morant for the suspension. 25 games for a second offense. If it was a first offense, maybe I'd understand. I'd probably say it's a little too much, but 25 for a second offense, I think that's too little for a guy that has history with this behavior off the court. I feel like, what's going to happen if he does this again? Is it going to be the whole season? Is it going to be more than 25 games? Is it going to be half the season? We just don't know what it's going to look like because he set the number to be 25. And I understand 25 games is a lot in the Western Conference. It's a lot in the Eastern Conference. It's a lot, period, right? But at the same time, you got to understand that this is Ja Morant. This is who he is. This is his behavior. This is something that this is a lifestyle he's going to portray for the rest of his career, for the rest of his life. He's not looking to change his ways. And, for him to come out and say that he was playing, it was a toy gun, that's just some joke. That's a PR stunt. A lot of, his team and his inner circle probably just told him to say that. And they probably went out and bought that prop, because I guess on May 14th, he recorded himself lighting a candle with it. But I just think it's all jokes, man. 25 games for a guy that's displayed this behavior not once but twice, and it's pretty much like a slap on the wrist. I understand that there's a lot at stake in terms of making an All NBA team, making an All-Star team, being a high seed in the Western Conference, but he put himself in this position. There's nobody else to blame but himself. So I'm just a little bit confused as to what Adam Silver is trying to do and what statement he's trying to make with Ja Morant, but because when he talked about it a little bit at the lottery, he seemed a little bit disappointed. And so I was like, okay, he's gonna lay the hammer on this guy. It's not gonna be something light. It's not gonna be 25. It's probably gonna be half the season. But for him to give him 25, it's kind of like, Ja Morant, we understand you're a top talent in this league, and I can't give you any more than 25. So 25 is the max, and you're just gonna have to accept it. And so, for the Memphis Grizzlies, I feel like it's going to be tough for them. As we'll talk about, them in our next episode with the deal they just made to go acquire another point guard to kind of aid in Ja Morant's absence. But I just don't think these guys are going to be, good enough to, maintain a top team in the Western Conference. These guys were a 2 seed in the Western Conference this past season. I just can't see them touching anywhere near that. They might be battling for a playing spot, while he's out, and potentially even like a 5-6 spot at best. And so, this is something that he has to learn from. This is, like obviously, we've talked about this multiple times now. This is not something that we're new to. This is Ja Morant. This is who he is. But at the end of the day, when you go out there and you're a professional basketball player, you got to be a professional on and off the court. And so, he does his job well on one end, but on the other end, he can't hold up his end of the stick. And so, the Memphis Grizzlies organization, I'm sure they're extremely disappointed. I know his teammates are for sure disappointed because, at the end of the day, Ja Morant's their leader. That's their franchise guy. That's their best player. And they only go as far as he goes. And so for him to miss this many games, it hurts them a lot. And, they're not going to be competing for much. And now who do they go to, for those 25 games when he's out? And who knows how tough that schedule might be for the first 25 games. What happens if you play all the top teams in the Western Conference, or maybe like once or twice a few teams in the Eastern Conference? And it's like, at some point, I'm pretty sure when Ja Morant comes back, these guys are going to be below 500 and they'll probably be battling for a playing spot. But, it is what it is, man. Adam Silver, I think if Ja Morant does this one more time, he's going to look like the biggest fool in the world because, if you took it lightly on him for a second offense and then for a third offense, I'm pretty sure his hand's going to be forced at that point to, go out and, pretty much place a hefty suspension on him, for however many games it is. But at this point, man, it is what it is. But, I kind of laughed at this when I got this notification. I think this news dropped on like last Sunday, like first thing in the morning, and 25 games. I was like, man, it's just not enough. It's not enough, man. But it is what it is.
I mean,
And
25 games is still like 30% of the season. That's a chunk of your, like, regardless, he's already going to feel it by not making All NBA and the All-Star team, and his team's going to suffer without of his absence. So I feel like 25 games makes more than enough sense. Plus, you got to understand, this guy, regardless of how you feel about him, he generates money for this league. He's a highlight reel every time he plays. So, for Adam Silver, he had to find a balance between, making sure Ja Morant actually feels it. So with the All NBA, not making All NBA, and the All-Star last season, he didn't make All NBA. He could have really made it if he had not had that same issue, come up again. But this season, he's not going to make any of those two teams. So, for him, I think Ja Morant is actually going to feel it this time. And Adam Silver had to find a balance between, making this guy actually essentially punish him for what he was doing, while also understanding we can't have this guy out for more than 40, 50 games.
it was a 10 games. It was like a 10-game suspension when he sat out in like March for that first offense. So you're telling me only 15 more games is enough on top of that?
I think that's pretty fair. I think the first one was 8 games. He was out. This one 25. I think that's like a hefty enough jump where Adam Silver's just we have to make this guy actually feel his absence. So, I think this one is a fair punishment for him.
I guess we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. I'm not a huge fan of the suspension, but I'm excited. I'm interested to see how the Memphis Grizzlies kind of survive or try to keep their head above waters without him.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Being out late, now that's overkill.